We have lost the sense of community that our ancestors had. They survived by working together, living in tribes, supporting each other. Today, many of us live in isolation, and it's hurting us. When we are mentally struggling, we don't need more pressure to fix ourselves alone. We need to reconnect with something bigger than ourselves, with others. We need to feel part of a group. Sometimes we are told to just be yourself, but maybe what we really need is to be us, to be part of something larger. Another thing that affects our mental health is what we value. Society often pushes us to believe that happiness comes from money, happiness comes from success, or happiness comes from showing up. But studies have shown that the more we chase these things, the more likely we are to feel unhappy. True happiness comes from moments of connection, meaning, and purpose. These moments are not about what we own or how we look online. They are about being with people we care about, doing things that matter, and are feeling part of something. Sometimes we know these things deep down, but we still get caught up in the wrong values. This happens because the world around is set up to distract us from what truly matters. But we can break free from this by focusing on what gives our life meaning and working on it with others. Mental health is not just about fixing problems with pills or therapies. Those things can help, but they are only part of the solution. The real solution is to come together, build connections, and find meaning in our lives. Let's stop thinking we have to do everything alone. Let's be there for each other, grow together, and heal together. Mental health is something we all deal with, whether we realize it or not. We all know how sitting around too much affects our health, right? But did you know that not moving enough is also linked to our mental health? Think about how many of us feel stressed out, overwhelmed, or anxious at times. It is becoming so common. And though stress itself is not necessarily a mental health problem, it often leads us down the road. Studies have shown that when we move, our brain releases chemicals that make us feel good. One of these is called endorphins. They help to reduce pain and stress, making us feel better. So, when we are feeling down or stuck in our thoughts, just getting up and moving can change everything. And it's not just about short-term benefits. In the long term, moving more regularly can actually change the structure of our brain. It boosts our self-esteem and makes us more resilient to stress. Let's be real. Life throws a lot at us. But when we find ways to move our bodies, we also find ways to move out of our mental ruts. This doesn't mean we need to become athletes. Even just walking, stretching, or dancing in the kitchen can help. It's not about how intense the movement is. It's about finding what works for us. We would feel less stressed, less anxious, and more connected to ourselves. Mental health is a big issue, but sometimes the solutions don't need to be complicated. Moving our bodies is one simple way to take care of our minds. When we talk about mental health, it's not just about living long. It's about living well. In fact, mental illness make up about 15% of all health problems globally. That's huge. The World Health Organization estimates that nearly 400 to 500 million people around the world have a mental illness. That's a big number. But when you think about all the different kinds of mental illness, from childhood autism to depression and anxiety, all the way to dementia in old age, it's easier to see how so many people are affected. And the sad reality is that most of these people don't get the care they need. We know that medicines, therapy, and social support can make a huge difference. But even in the best healthcare system, only about half of the people with mental illness get these treatments. In many developing countries, that number drops to just 10%. When we talk to people who live with mental illness, we often hear stories of hidden suffering. They talk about shame, they talk about discrimination in every part of their life. In India, one survey says a few years ago that there are about 3,000 psychiatrists when there should be around 150,000. That is a huge difference. To tackle these, we need to think outside the box. In place with a few professionals, we can train regular people in the community to help. This idea is called task shifting. It means training non-professionals to give basic care. What is special about this approach is that it not only makes mental health care more available and affordable, but it also empowers people in the community. It gives them the tools to care for others and themselves. This is about making mental health care something that belongs to everyone. So, the next time you think of someone who has a mental illness, remember that caring for them matters. We can all play a part in making sure they get the support they need to live a life of dignity. Let's dare to care, because mental health is something we all need to protect.